At home, there was no peace. There was no peace because my father and my mother were fighting over things that I wouldn't even understand. And then my father was also not having a very good relationship with my elder sister. So there were chaos. And then the church was also not doing very well. And so I continued in my school, went to Form 2. But before I would even settle in, things started happening. At home, there was no peace. There was no peace because my father and my mother were fighting over things that I wouldn't even understand. And then my father was also not having a very good relationship with my elder sister. So there were chaos. And then the church was also not doing very well. Partly I understand why all this anger that he was having and that was boiling in him. And partly it was because my mother was a stay-at-home mom who used to do farming, but sometimes the farming would not go very well. So they decided, why don't you try other businesses? My mom tried selling clothes, tried selling groceries, tried a few things. Most of them didn't go very well. So I think I remember partly he was disappointed because the church wasn't doing well. The financial status of the church was not very well. At some point, my elder sister was in high school, I was in high school, and my twin sister was in high school. So I think the pressure of the money. Now as a man, now as a married man, I understand these things. But at that point, I couldn't understand. Right? I wondered, why is my father dealing with so much and why is he reacting in a certain way? And so I am in Form 2. By God's grace, I've now even been promoted to become the vice chairman of the Christian Union. It was such a prestigious leadership position because I am now reporting directly to the chairman. And at that point, the chairman of the Christian Union or the chairman of the Catholic Action, those were very serious people, right? Together with the captains, they were very serious people, the cartels, the cabinet, the cabinet secretaries of the school. I think the head boy, overall dome captain, the compound captain, and the dining hall captain. Those were the cartels of the school. If you had that leadership position, my goodness, you're living a very good life. So I've already been promoted to become a vice chairperson of the Christian Union, and so I know the next position for me is probably the chairperson. But around this time, my father sends a fellow pastor to me. And this fellow pastor comes and tells me, so it begins a very long story. He's trying to tell me, the making of a man, you don't have to grow in a certain environment. As long as you're determined, you can become anything, you can go anywhere. And so I'm wondering, where are all these stories coming from? Only for him to finish at the end and tell me that because this school is not the best for you, we are thinking that we need to take you from this school to a day school. That is the worst thing you would tell a boy or a young man who is trying to get hold of his future in a certain place. My goodness, I had seen how my leadership was going to grow, right? From being the vice chairman, from first serving as the vice chairman to going to the chairman. And there were rumors because of how well behaved I was at that point and at that time, that I would also be the chairman come the head boy. There were rumors that Ken was growing in such a very stupendous way. He would hold those positions. And then this was also the place I felt, I am being accepted. I am doing my best and I'm making my father proud. But then this pastor came and told me we have to scratch that. And you have to go again and begin or continue your studies in a day school. Dad, I thought I was making you proud. I thought you were beginning to feel the efforts that you put, the discipline, the caning, the constant pressure. I felt I was already rewarding you. But then I have to forget all that, and then I have to go begin a whole new culture in a whole new school. So I was transferred from Christ the King Kerwara Boys. And I went and reported in a school called Karigoine Secondary School in Moranga. The school was good, and I thank God for the opportunity to get there. But I remember trying to see Kerwara Boys in Karigoine, and it was so difficult. Why? Because I used to wake up and the dormitory was, I think like 2 or 3 minutes walk to my classroom. But then I have to walk for so many kilometers, I think 4 or 5 kilometers in the morning and 5 kilometers in the evening. I was not used to that. But then trying to adjust to that, that proved to be something else. It was a menace. And it was not just the walking, but it was also trying to adjust to a whole new environment of being around people that I don't know, people that probably don't identify with my story, people who probably have already been used, they have been used to this kind of a life, but then I have to start from the scratch. But then I had to adapt to it. So I started, but then unfortunately it tampered with my performance at the school. I was not now performing as well as I was performing at Kerwara Boys. The fitting in was not very easy, but I struggled and did what I could. I remember I grew very, very thin. And I thought it is because I was not eating. So I even started going for lunch twice to try and substitute the calories that I was losing and the fat I was losing by walking. It didn't work. But then I remember one particular incident. Again, this is me trying to show that even as we raise our children, it is good to look at exactly what is missing in their upbringing and be quick to even offer it to them, because it affects them if they don't get that ingredient or that vitamin. And the vitamin I feel I didn't have as a boy transitioning into man was the validation of a father. Was the father who held my hand and told me, let's walk this journey with you as your father. One time, boys, okay, so one time we're in class, I think we've finished the classes, it's around 4 p.m. We're going back to class for, I think, preps, and then we go home. I had this boy who had chokers. So there was this boy who had chalks and was drawing some things on the wall. So I decided, wow, let me go try, because you have a chalk, let me go try also draw. So I went and I started drawing. But then this boy, I didn't know, the boy was drawing a very vulgar picture, a picture I think of a naked body of a woman. I didn't know, so I was just drawing my things. Then I think the teacher on duty came, and you know how some teachers were, when you hear them you have to run. So when I had the teacher coming, of course I had to run and sit down. So when I went and I sat down, looking again at the blackboard, I'm like, wait a minute, what is that? And so the teacher came and looked at the blackboard and realized, wait a minute, something is amiss here. So he called and said, who was drawing that picture? And the whole of the classroom was quiet. Who was doing this? Who was doing this? And so the teacher went to the prefect and demanded, I need to know who was drawing that picture. I don't know why she didn't even She was a lady. I don't know why she didn't even do her homework to see who was doing what and where, because she just mentioned my name. And so I was called to the deputy principal's office. When I went to the deputy principal's office, I was given a letter of suspension. I was suspended from the school for 2 weeks. And I was told after the 2 weeks, come with your parent and come with, I think, 15 packets of chocolates. How do I go and tell the pastor, my father, that I have been suspended? And the reason for being suspended is because of drawing the picture of a naked. I had never even seen a naked woman. But then this boy had drawn, and so I was accused to be the one who drew it. My goodness. Those were 2 weeks of a hell staying at my father's house. It was so chaotic because my father first disciplined me and caned me and beat me. And I remember he didn't want to understand where I was coming from. All he knew was, if you have been chased from school, if you have been suspended, it's because you've done something wrong. And so those were the worst 2 weeks of my life. So I stayed, and then after the end of the 2 weeks, he took me to school. And taking me to school, of course, he sided with the teachers, and there were all these stories of how bad I was becoming, how rude I was becoming, and all that. And of course, you don't have a fighting chance when it's your parents who have sided with your teachers. And so I accepted that I had done it. I think I wrote an apology, and then I was forced to make promises of how I am going to work hard, and I don't know do what. I look back right now, and I try to change the roles. If I was a father to Ken, if I was a father to my son, I'd want to understand, what exactly did you do wrong? And if there was nothing wrong that you did, right, I would want to stand with you and look the teacher directly to the face and tell them, you won't reprimand or punish my son for something you think he did without proof. And I think that is what I would want, and I pray that I would be to my son. Somebody who supports him, not to feel inferior, but to feel that I can stand on the truth and, do what is right and not feel like I am inferior because of doing that. But, I cleared Form 4 and I did well, and that is where now I felt alone.